Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere. I'm Chris Parker, and today I have Nicoline van der Pas, who is a feldenkrais practitioner and master, as well as one of her customers, Simon Broad. I met Nicoline when actually the two of them were presenting on a global innovation and invention conference about the future of work and the mastery of body, and apparently physical peace was something that was brilliant to have on that agenda. And so I'm delighted to have Nicoline back in a way, but in the first time on this podcast to share this. And Nicoline will tell her personal story a bit about her practice. And Simon is here as a customer testimonial. And this is so much fun for me because I've not done this before on the podcast. So great. We're going to have fun with this. So welcome both. Nicoline, thank you for joining. Can you please share with us, and then we'll hear from Simon a bit. Can you share with us, Nicoline, what is it that you do and why do you do what you do?
Well, that's already a very big question, but thanks for having me here, of us here. Yes, well, I am a feldenkrais practitioner. Nobody knows what it is, maybe, but I'm, what are you? What are you doing? I'm interested in well-being and in general, but especially well-being of others, because starting off 32 years ago as being a physical therapist, that's what you do and that's your job. And I like that very much. But growing over the years, I was much more interested in preventing and being, how do you say that, redundant? Is that an English good word? Trying to be absent and giving the responsibility more to the clients by motivating them to do their exercises or to be more available to growing into themselves, certainly when they had complaints. So what I improved is quality of life. And I found all of a sudden on the moment that the challenge of being a physical therapist was gone, and I did manual therapy. So that means basically correcting vertebral columns all day and trying to reconnect skeletal issues and joints and to bring them together again after having some physical problems. That was the same. People needed you all the time, and I could do the trick. So the challenge was gone. And then I met this feldenkrais method, and they had in 2007 the possibility to have a training in Amsterdam. And that's a completely different approach. And for that approach, maybe I would like to give the word to Simon as being now my customer and client for a while, and who's doing also lessons in groups with me to become more aware. And I think it's interesting to hear what his experience is with this method before I'm going to explain something more about it. Simon, please.
Thank you, Nicoline. So very happy to be here. I've been practicing this feldenkrais method for a few years now. What I noticed are changes in myself, which I found beneficial on a couple of different levels. So on the first level, I find more freedom of movement physically. So I'm more aware of my body in space and how I can move my body in space. And that's already a good feeling. It makes me feel grounded physically. But then on a second level, I noticed that I'm more aware of how I am with other people. So I am more present. I can be in a meeting at work And instead of that thing of, finding your mind wandering and you're doodling something or whatever, that you're actually really concentrating and really present for the people around you. So that's a kind of second level. And it goes even further because I find that my ability to stay calm in stressful situations is also improved. So somehow that groundedness feeds through into how you control yourself and how you behave in difficult places. So that's what I've noticed for myself, and I hope other people notice the same things.
Nice.
I can attest to that. As Simon and I have worked together, grounded, present, and calm are all descriptors that I really apply to you, and now I'm discovering about how you've become masterful at this. So Simon, thank you for sharing, and you're going to stick around because we're going perhaps to come back and talk more about your actual experience along the journey. But Nicoline, I'd like to go back to my initial question, the second part of my initial question, which is, why do you do this? You've spent, you said 32 years of your career serving, healing others. Why? What is your inner motivation or purpose?
Yeah, well, it's also a very bright and broad question, because I like to serve, but that's maybe a very simple one. I'm interested in people. I like to be present myself as well. And this method, gives me the possibility to increase that potency, and that interests me. Knowing for sure that the body and the mind are one and the same, inseparable. It's very interesting that, life is movement, and I move a lot. I cannot sit still in my chair for at least 15 minutes. So that means that there's something. How can I explain it? That has to. It's very nice to use movement to increase your potency in life. And so that means that when you improve movement, and that's what I like, you improve the quality of your life. And I think I found the very best for everybody in life, when they have the willingness to improve their possibilities. So that's, I think, my main goal. Yes, healthcare I like, but then independent from hospitals or practice, and being in communication with others and improving a certain quality. I think that's the resume.
Beautiful. Thank you. You've mentioned movements many times, and I had the joy of the pleasure of experiencing one of your sessions when you gave a guided sample session on the Global Innovation event. And I will include the link to that video on the show notes of this so people can see it. But my experience, very minor experience with the method, was the movements are very minor. So when I hear the word movement, some people might be thinking about dancing and extravagance, but in my experience, the movements that you were guiding us through were very minor and very deliberate. Can you describe what you mean by movements?
Even initial, yes. Well, that's a key note in the Feldenkrais method, which has this name from Moshe Feldenkrais, the founder of it, who developed this during the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, is less is more. And if you move smaller with attention and also very slow, then you give yourself the possibility to become aware of what you're doing. And in other words, if you know what you are doing, you can do whatever you like. So also beyond your consciousness. So what we're doing is the the unconscious conscious. You make it conscious so that you can that you have a voice and a choice to improve through movement your potency.
And I, those of you watching the video, I'm just delighted by your smile when you close that sentence, because that is potency and power. I think that giving choice in today's world, where I think we do so much unconscious, and also maybe driven by society and other expectations, and reclaiming your choice at the micro level of your own movement, I think is empowering. I'm also inspired just speaking to you both. I'm conscious of my body moving, and maybe it's remembering back from that experience I had before. It's feeling very good. Can you tell a little bit more about the method, and just because I this is a whole body of practice, that takes years to master, I'm sure, but why does it work?
Yeah. Why does it work? Well, the keynote is awareness, and that brings already body and mind together. And during your lifetime, you develop all kinds of habits that are not so easy to change because you're not aware of it. Yeah. We know all the stories about people who said, well, I never could go with my hands to the ground because I simply couldn't, because I have a lower back that doesn't work. Or it worked when he or she was a child. It simply got lost in space or through complaints or traumas or whatever. And it became a habit that you compensate or work around it, etc., etc. So you simply don't know. You are not aware of the fact that you can improve the quality of your life anytime, even the day before you die. You can improve that. Simply how? And that's the big question. And Moshe Feldenkrais developed his method through the ages by, he was saying always, I'm not after flexible bodies, I'm after flexible brains, because when you know what the possibilities of your body are, you can improve it. So what he did was, he had for himself, very interesting, a problem with his knee and couldn't walk anymore, and he couldn't accept that. So imagination, which is an interesting part of the method, made that he brought his intention and his attention from the good knee to the bad knee. And after a while, he discovered that the bad knee was willing to move. And then he was looking for possibilities around that to stabilize his method. And he followed the development of a normal child between 0 and 2.5. When gravity is working in on the skeleton and everything is developed, then a child can grow. And then during 20 years after that, all kinds of habits are there. If you're going to sit on another chair in your kitchen, you all of a sudden see different things and think, well, I'm going back to my old chair because that's my habit, and then my meal tastes better, whatever. It's all a package of what you're used to. And he discovered that when you get out of your habit by practicing this moving method, that a little change is occurring into your central brain system, which gives you the possibility to recapture the movements you had when you were a child. And this has directly, I think that Simon was talking about that as well, a broader sense of self-awareness and a better self-image, so that you feel more resilient when you have to have negotiations or standing in front of difficult situations. So what I'm doing is I changed my practice completely into a feldenkrais practice by treating or giving lessons one by one, and then I give the possibility to let you experience the gravity of your body, the awareness of your bones, because that's where we're attached to. And you might know that the skin and the central nervous system, when we were still 3 days old in the womb of your mother, they were made from the same ectoderm. That it changed, and the inner side became the central nervous system. The outer side is the skin. So the skin and the bones is where we attach. And these senses, when you move very small, have their effect unconsciously, doing by me, on the brain and the possibilities that open up to release a certain stiffness or disconnection in the skeleton. The second one is the awareness through movement lessons. That's group lessons that Simon is also attending. And then you're exploring it yourself. Also very necessary and important and nice, because then I'm repeating kind of movement patterns out of the judo. Everybody knows that we're having flexion, extension, side bending, and rotation. But we're no robots. I'm moving now like a robot, but we're moving in space. So it's always the combination of those movements, meaning that when Simon and 9 others are moving their right arm, they all do that with a different intention, or without care. It looks like this, or thinking of the shoulder blade, and then it's already more fluid. But when you're doing it from your tailbone, it's all of a sudden a complete movement of the whole skeleton. And then in that process, on that moment, new connections are made, and blockade vertebrae, so vertebrae that are not working so nice, are invited to join in. That's the magic. And that's happening. And if you're standing up, then, because we work most of the time without gravity, then you're, well, I want to say lost in space, but then you're thinking, where was I? What's happening? I'm feeling completely light, and that stays for a while, and that starts up a learning process which asks for more improvement than you did already.
Wow, it's I guess inspiring or triggering in me that it's a return to self. It's a return to your child self, and it's maybe we've learned spiritually, physically, emotionally, intellectually, all of these habits over time.
Yes. And
in some way, it seems like a bit of a rediscovering or an unlearning process, and it really resonates with me. I'm curious to shift gears slightly and talk about customers. Like, who's the perfect customer? So, Simon, soon I'm going to ask you, Simon, who do you believe the perfect customers of the feldenkrais method are? But on your website, which is incrediblemoves.nl, and there's an English version there as well, it says that the feldenkrais method is for everyone, regardless of age, experience, or condition. And in my coaching and mentoring, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, those words are typically the words of doom. Meaning, if you cannot be focused on who your customer is, then you'll try to do everything for everyone.
I understand.
In this case, it feels more right. And so I'm curious, can you share, how is this really for everyone?
Well, there is no contraindication, also not for people who are suffering physically very hard, because they can imagine what they are doing and it works fantastically. So that's one. But I have to say, to simplify yourself, when I started up, I specialized myself in 50 plus, because that's the age that everybody's changing, purifying, wanted to have quality of life already. And I also work in PR, managing companies with people who think they're, and they have the world, but think that they can do it all. So between 20 and 35, people are less interested, or at least the group is smaller. Around 50, and certainly for women, but also men above 50, 60, the physical problems occur, or habits are going to stick, and they're seeking out for more quality. So that's, of course, the group that's most interesting. But for me, the most interesting part is people who are willing to improve their quality of life. And that's a smaller group than you think. Everybody wants it, but they don't want to let. It's not to obtain, but to let, and to take responsibility for a certain change in habits. And it's quite easy at the end.
Yeah, I was going to say that people open for that consciousness. And honestly, I'm not even sure if I am. I like to say I am, but how do you know that? That's not everyone. So Simon, in your experience, what is the persona or the type of person that this is perfect for?
So I trying to project my own experience onto this, but I totally agree. You have to be open to it. I guess that's the same, whatever method you go for. But here the openness to learn and to change yourself is very important. And I can imagine that can suit, for example, very driven athletes or dancers who are already very good at what they do, but want to go that extra piece, but they would be open to learn and to change in order to get better. But it would also suit anybody that has felt that need. If your life is perfect the way it is, and you might have certain constraints that you live with quite comfortably, then maybe that's not the perfect time to be approaching this method.
Yeah.
But you can always, as Nicoline says, what you realize when practicing this is you can always find a way to change and improve your possibilities. So who wouldn't want that?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I was trying to think, do I know anyone whose life and relationship with their body is perfect?
Well, you're maybe not aware, but you can also say, like Moshe said himself all the time, what we do with the feldenkrais method is working from we think in possibilities, not in I never could have done it. So we're thinking from impossible to possible, and from possible to easy. That's the most of my clients I had in my old practice. And how about, and that's dancers and performers and actors, from easy to elegant. That's also possible. Also, when you have the idea that you don't have the system to move elegant, or to whatever, to have more radiance in your appearance. Yes.
I love the word elegant. I've had a professional speaking coach, and this has really stuck with me, 3 things to reflect on before going on stage in front of hundreds or more people. And the questions are you present? Are you breathing? Are you elegant? And this still comes back to me, and before I get on stage, because even as a professional trained speaker, that is a time of anxiety, and that elegant word just really triggers with me. So
what was your translation of being elegant during your performance?
Well, for me, it wasn't elegant during the performance, but elegant as in, for me, great question. Elegance is maybe the most me I can be, the most, I'm elegant and radiant when I am me. And so that's a combination of presence and breathing, I guess. Elegance could also mean stylefully elegant in fashion. That's not it's not how I interpret it, because I typically am not the best dressed person on stage. But no, for elegant is more of a state of mind for me.
Yes.
And when I am thinking about this, if there's entrepreneurs listening, going from easy to elegant, and even though some of this might be busy with the mind relationship with the body, I think these are already powerful lessons about, abundance thinking or possibility thinking, which are already great lessons. What is your definition of the word elegant?
Well, I think that elegancy shows itself when the best me, as you just told me, is on. Huh? Put the light on green, and you're thinking into yourself and sitting in a nice position. And there we have the skeleton again. Is for you something else than for me. So it doesn't mean that everybody has to be cured in a certain position and that you put on a button and then you're ready to be elegant. Elegancy is, of course, thinking into yourself as well and feeling completely able to say and to express what your inner side is to the outer world, and of course with a certain message. And then it radiates by itself. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think personalizing it for me in these speaking moments, what I find is being present and breathing and being elegant to start the presentation. If I am in that space when I start, then the rest of that performance is glorious. It works. And if I start wobbly or uncertain or with friction in me, it is harder for me to regain my own self while on stage. And so that's also something I've learned is to if I start solid, if I start breathing, if I start relaxed and controlled and elegant, then it seems to just flow and work. And maybe that's probably with life as well.
So breathing is an important part, of course. Breathing into your body to become complete before you bring it out again in a performance. Yeah.
So again, for everyone listening, in the show notes, I'll put the link to the campus party video where there's a sample experience, which will give you a taste. But let me flip back to Simon and because what will people experience when they go to a private or group session? How long is it? What does it smell like? What is it? What are the top three things that they will walk away with from the experience of a session with Nicoline?
So in a typical group situation, it is rather meditative. Mostly those lessons, you spend a lot of time lying on the floor to remove the influence of gravity as much as possible. And you end up always from such a session, you end up with a new sense of gravity when you get up and walk around. And if it was a good session and if you're in the right place, then that sense can last a couple of days after. And of course, ideally, you want it to last the whole week until the following session. So this is how I experience it. From the one-on-one sessions, that can go deeper and really aim at relearning something very specific about yourself, and there you can be very specifically conscious of that one place or that one part or that one movement. And again, you go to sleep, you get up the next day, you try to recapture it, it's still there. So these are definitely not sessions that you leave behind when you walk out of the room, but they stay with you.
What does it smell like?
No. Better than a typical men's locker room.
No, great. Yeah, when I ask people about the experience, I'm trying to find what is the whole sensory experience, and it's meditative. Is there music playing, or is it
No, yeah, that's
No.
possible.
Yeah.
I had requests of having some nice classical music or maybe Stones, but then it's quite difficult
Yeah.
to orientate on your own body. Eh? You move from within. So if you have all of a sudden external perceptions, that's not so good for the concentration because it's not only willingness but also the preparation to move so slowly that you have to be perceptive of what's happening in the moment. If I'm holding, if somebody's lying on the back, because Simon told you already, we take out gravity as much as possible, then you can feel your own lightness or your own heaviness, yourself. Then yeah, I think it smells very good, but I have to say, he's the one who's experienced it. But when I'm not in a good condition, I have to move with him or not. So if somebody's coming in, it's not, I don't have a certain goal, because you take the person as he is with his body and his brains and his mental condition on that very moment. You cannot expect more. So that's the starting point. So it's a very difficult question to answer because, yeah, somebody can ask, show me the mirrors of my soul. Well, that's a very difficult one.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not moving, so I don't feel that as if my head is connected to my breastbone. That then you know where. Then after walking a little bit, I can see where it's stuck or not. And if it's necessary to improve the whole skeleton or only a part, at the end, the whole skeleton will improve because you invite difficult parts to join. But I think, Chris, it's time that you're going to experience it once.
Well, let me. This is my last question, and then after this, if you have any questions for me, otherwise we'll wrap up because we're actually already over time. But I'm really enjoying the conversation. When and I'll just be very vulnerable here. When Simon mentioned you spend most of your time on your back, the sensation I felt was fear. Fear of like.
Well, you're why? Vulnerable.
Having had extreme pain in my past with my back, which is now worked through, not completely. Laying down I connect laying down flat with my neck on the floor, if I can even get it there, with pain. And so, no, I don't want this. But now I'm also like, okay, but also the enticing invitation of weightlessness is like, I do want that. So how can I don't know, what can you do with that feedback?
A lot, because you're not lying in a position that you don't want. So if you want to sit or to in whatever position you want, you're there. And then I'm going to make you first comfortable with all kinds of materials I have, from little balls and rollers and things like that, to make it as comfortable as if you're lying on air. That's to start with.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm in. Stop there. If you can make me feel like I'm lying on air, I'm in. So
yes, and you don't have to undress. So somebody's coming in as he is completely, because of course I'm trained to feel through everything, and somebody has to be comfortable. So you're not coming in other areas, like in physio. You have to see what's happening, and with tension, busy with that. This is from a completely different mastery, so to speak. So no, that's not the case. And therefore you make it very comfortable, and you can say, but it's quite philosophical to end up with, that there are two systems who are meeting each other, and I'm the one who's bringing something, getting something out as well, by the way, because when I can bring you in balance, it means that my balance is changing as well. So you could simply say, if I have 6 clients on a day, I'm completely in balance at the end of the day. So yes, that's how it works.
Wow. Well, thank you for letting me share, because I really felt that. Like when Simon said that, I was like, oh, like, wow, this is discomfort, the feeling I have of just emotional, and thank you for responding to that. So I will join you for a session if based on this. I'm inspired. If you have another comment or question now, or are we good for now with both of you?
I think that I said the most important things. Maybe Simon, something. I'm going to look over what I really wanted to say. The only thing but I think that's already clear, is that we're focusing on the creation of awareness. So how can your brains become more creative? And we do that through initiating movements very slowly. So nobody can object, because the outcome is always nice.
Wow.
And so easy.
Simon, anything to add?
No, I thought that was perfect. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
That was a perfect summary, Nicoline. Thank you so much. And those that are interested, as I am through this, you can, in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, incrediblemoves.nl. I see on there's private lessons and group lessons. There's specialization over 50 plus, but it also really clearly says, and we've discussed it, it can be for everyone if you're open to it. So if you're open, please, visit Nicoline. And thank you both so much for being here together, and this experiment of having a customer on the session I thought was great as well. So thank you for being here and sharing so much.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was very nice to bring up the feldenkrais method here.
Learn more at ebullient.com/podcast.